and R36. Like the lady on the commercial.
She agreed with him.
Well, do y'all have any questions? Have you had an opportunity to listen to some tapes and Janet?
Well, I'm not sure if I can get this out right, but if I understood correctly, what goes into what we understand as far as next level knowledge are the mind that with the vehicle also comprehends because the brain comprehends it. And we're trying to get as much next level mind in as we can, but can you get more next level mind without getting more knowledge in? And is there a limit to the knowledge you can get in because it would be inappropriate for the mind that's going to stay here to know that much? I mean, is there like a cutoff point? And then that's
You
it?
wanted to say something, or you want me to?
You can do it.
Well, okay. Well, let's see, I think. The brain, when the mind is coming in, the next level of mind is coming in, and we say that the mind of the vehicle can comprehend. The mind of the vehicle can comprehend a degree of what the next level mind has brought into consciousness. And that degree can kind of be judged, in a sense, by if at times you can know that your next level mind can see something clearly and can accept it clearly, but you can feel some hesitation somewhere with the mind of the vehicle on whether or not it's capable of accepting it. It's like it's a little hesitant. And that hesitation, you don't listen to, you just ignore it and you go ahead and override it. But it's probably because it's not capable of doing much more than being obedient. It's kind of like a child when the adult tells it to do something, and the adult can even explain why it's right to do it. But that doesn't mean the child's going to understand. The adult will even try to tell it in childlike terms why, and try to reason at a level that the child can understand. And the child will understand to the degree of choosing to be obedient. And in the same way, the mind of the vehicle is choosing to be obedient. But when the next level mind leaves, and that mind of the vehicle takes root in another vehicle, it will still be limited. It will still know less than your next level mind knew while present. Even though it could have some like deja vu feeling maybe when it awakened and it was advancing, because it would know that it had heard this before, this kind of thing before, and it would probably have that kind of unconscious feeling of recollection. But also remember too that our task is extremely limited as to how much, we've talked about this before, as to how much next level information can come in, because it wouldn't be appropriate to even comprehend. I mean, if you could comprehend much more than, I don't know, let's say that this task that you're on, the information and the comprehension and the acceptance, the knowledge, even the conduct, can go so far, and any further would be inappropriate. Now, we don't know where so far is, and so far will be when there's no longer any task to do. Do you follow that? Can you add something to that?
Well, as far as you're concerned, what you will pull in will be more understanding. In other words, you're limited to what you all can pull in as far as knowledge, just like with us. In other words, you can. We come with the most information. Then we give it to you when it comes to us to give to you. Then you receive it. Then you bring in more mind to understand it and make it. And once you get more mind in, then you will feel like it's right. It's just like the ways that we do here in this craft. They're familiar to you. If you would go into someone else's home and live there, it would be very strange to you. And you would probably appear to be very strange until you begin to get back into the groove of things. I don't.
Good. Yeah.
Right. I don't know how you could do it. I'm talking about if you should leave, And this is the strangeness that individuals feel, so to speak, at first until their mind recedes and their vehicle takes over again. But
and it doesn't even separate. It must still haunt them to a degree.
It's still part of them. It can't help but be part of them. We know that they certainly can't leave the bodies, because if they could, well, we would all drop out, I think, if it meant to go back. I don't think we would really, but sometimes we might think we know.
He pointed out that the knowledge, like as information is coming in, it's our task to set up the suction with you to pull information into your vehicles and into the minds of the vehicles. And your task is application of the information in your conduct and your ways and the way you think and your obedience to the information and so forth. Now, after you have done a certain amount of application of the information, then even more of your mind comes in, and it feels good. Because at first, when you were making application and being obedient to the information and so forth, it might have been just pretty much a discipline. Where later, as more next level mind comes in, it's like you couldn't imagine being without it. And you become appreciative of it, where you weren't really appreciative of it at first, until you see the value of the application.
Also, you might have knowledge, but you're not aware that you know it until maybe we bring it to your attention. Just like we know things that we're not aware that we know until it's brought to our attention, and then it's like, oh, I knew that, And but this is the way it's supposed to be. It's just like you can't desire to know something if you, well, let's see, how can I say that? It's just like if you don't know, if you can't remember, if it's the first time you do something, you can't ask questions about it until you know something about it, right? You can't think of questions of how to do something, or the little side questions that might come up. You can't think of those things until you actually do the experience. And so therefore, it's the same way with this. You all probably know a lot more than what you're aware of. And sometimes you might even have little pains of feeling things, but yet you don't know if they're right. And it doesn't matter, because what good does it do to know? You follow that? The main thing is that you understand what is sort of given to you at the time that it's given to you. And then that usually opens doors to other things, and which seems like, I know that. It's all clear in my mind now. And sometimes it doesn't sound very clear to you, but after a couple of meetings or listening to the tape, then it will come, your more mind comes in to remember. And then you can remember. Do you all understand that? Does that answer your question? The next level has a safeguard to protect their kingdom in this way. It's just like I know a lot of things, but I wouldn't talk about it. And unless it's given to me to talk to you about it. And in other words, there's no sense in my talking about something if you do not desire to know about it. Now you can say, we desire to know anything about the next level. But the question has to come into your mind to ask it before it can come out.
Specifically.
And that means you're ready for it at that time. This is why we want you to listen to the tapes. We want you to think about this, because as you think, you develop questions, because you don't have all of your mind in so that you know all the answers. So and that's the way it's supposed to be. So what you want to do is keep on trying to have a greater understanding, and to try to figure out whether or not you understand it totally, what we're talking about. And if not, then ask your questions. But it's this pushing your head out of the chrysalis, so to speak, that is doing what the next level wants to have happen, if that makes sense.
Sometimes I feel like we're in classroom with you on both sides of the fence. Like I feel like we're in classroom with you outside of the vehicles, and we're trying to give you instructions on what to do in the vehicles. And even though you are never instructed to second guess us, you are instructed, we feel like at times, to fill in the blanks with your questions. Do you understand that? In other words, let's say that we were in a classroom with you where we had more knowledge and we were outside of these vehicles, if you can understand that, imagining that situation. Let's say that we're sitting with you and we're looking down at, this is just a hypothetical, we're looking down at the limitation of what our knowledge is at this point, within of what has actually come into the vehicles. And T and O gets some instruction to move to step so-and-so. And I feel like we discussed that and kind of how it's going to do it, because too many times it's been too humorous how it has occurred, how the information came in, almost as if we were having a little fun on the process of bringing it into the vehicles. And I think that a lot of times we also intentionally choose to bring into the conscious minds of these vehicles only the higher, more general aspects of the new information, and intentionally leave out some of the minor aspects that more concern you, so that you will force enough next level mind into the vehicle to, when we bring in that information to you, then you say, well, how does that affect so-and-so? Or does that also mean such and such? Because then you're getting down to more of the aspects of that information that more directly affect you in your task with those vehicles as the task is designed. Do you understand that? And I think a lot of times our impatience if you can take that word at the right level, is because we feel like we have had that, we have gone through that with you, and we're waiting to see, why don't you ask your questions? Why don't you pull in the information that would force us to fill in the blanks so that we can then move to lesson plan next, whatever it is.
If you knew what we know, in other words, if you knew how much we know right now, and you don't know it, then you ought to develop some questions to try to learn what we know. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the desire to feel the desire to want to go back to the next level because you missed the next level, because you not because you want to go, but because inside of you there's such a feeling of longing to go back, that desire to fulfill it is enough to stimulate you if you have it.
To push to the next lesson?
In other words, we can't do anything without you. You can't do anything without us. In other words, you are the sponge that soaks up the knowledge. If you do not do anything about it, then we sit here wanting to share things with you but not knowing what to share because you have no questions to ask us and we don't know where to start. We could start rattling off things that, no, we can't, because it doesn't work that way. We can't just sit and talk about the next level without you all having a question to stimulate that thought, because we wouldn't know where to start.
You know, when this vehicle first came in contact with T, and this is very strange, but as I look back upon it, I can see how significant it was and how it so applies with our relationship with you. But T said, kept saying it, I didn't know what in the world it meant, because of, at that point, my awakening was in other aspects, and I wasn't able to see some of the objective oversight that T saw. And T would say, look, my task is to awaken you, because this is your task. This isn't my task. My task is to awaken you. And I didn't know what in the world she was talking about. And yet I can see that both of our tasks, it isn't our task. Our task was for you, only to awaken you, because the task can't be done without you. We didn't come to do the task. You came to do the task. We came to help you through it. We came to direct you through it. It's like it was just necessary for you to have some guidance through it. And it was also necessary for that guidance to be a focal point. Otherwise, it would have been chaos if you all came and you all had your own idea of how the task was to be done. Can you see that? So it had to have some older members directing you through the task. But it was your task. It wasn't our task. Now, I mean, we were given the task to take you through your task. You follow that? But I can remember this so clearly, and I thought, what in the world? And then T would say, well, don't you know me? And don't you know that I'm just to get you going, because this is your task. And that sounded so crazy to me. And this was within the first month or two that we were ever acquainted. that Steve's next level mind would say such things.
Well, he would look at me so puzzled, and I would wonder, do I have the right person?
That's exactly what she felt. And at times, I must admit, as we looked at you, do we have the right person? No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. Because as the mind came in, we knew that we had this task to do, and we were desperate to find the ones that were to do the task. You see what we were saying? And we wondered about how many would be following us around that weren't a part of the task. Because there was such an in thing going on at the time, because others were picking up on the fact that the next level was sending somebody in to do it, and people would follow them, and they would do a task. And so the fact that we were doing what we were doing was stimulating mimics of it, because they were picking up on that kind of thing all over the globe. And we were so concerned with whether or not...
Oh, Lodi, you want to come up here? Sure. Maybe it'll help you. I'll kick you every time you do it. Okay, excuse me.
You know, seems like this thing comes up a lot, you know, where we just need that little bit of push, and I keep wondering, I feel like there's still some, obviously there's part of my mind I haven't pulled in to kind of change my focus or something, because I feel like at times, you know, that I realize that I'm still too have my eyes on taking care of myself, or it seems like I must need to have my eyes more someplace.
It sounds like you're confusing my and the vehicle in what you're saying now. I'm not so sure, because you've got to separate. You've got to say at times my vehicle still does this and keeps my next level mind from its task, or attempts to do, but it's not I, because Jane Odie wouldn't have any selfish concerns like that.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that.
Yes,
I
think
because
so, too.
if you're thinking of trying to do what's right and making your vehicle do what's right, then you're not doing anything wrong,
No,
because
you're doing
your
that.
task.
It is when you are working on the vehicle, getting its best cooperation, and even getting it to the point of appreciating its new ways and conduct and information, that's the way you do your task. So that's not selfish.
So I want to add something else. During the time when you all were in campgrounds, and I don't know if it was when this started, where you actually started doing your task. But we had other tasks that we have done without you all. But now we're doing no other tasks unless our mind leaves our vehicle, which we feel like it does sometimes, because we feel like we're just biding our time, so to speak. But it never stays gone more than 3 or 4 days at a time. And but the point I'm getting at is that the main task right now is for you all to do your task. Because it's kind of like, if we have anything to do, we're not aware of it right now.
Let me interrupt just a second. The air's kind of stagnant. Are those windows open in the
Well,
lab? And let's turn this on one notch.
I think that's why might be why some of us get a little...
Huh?
Turn left one notch.
Yes, uh-huh.
Too much?
One on low.
They're just open a little crack.
Well, I want some air to circulate. I don't... as much as you can get them open without chilling you all that are over there, maybe you could move over this way some. Just don't like to be in the gallery all the time, isn't it? Maybe ought to...
Oh, it doesn't matter.
You can...
Stop the tape for a second.
Sue Little?
I was wondering if we just do our test and the line that you were talking about, is that going to just come naturally, or do we have to push to get that line?
You have to pull. That's the only words we can tell you. It does not come naturally. It takes, and this is where it's hard to talk to you, because we're talking to you on both sides of the fence when we talk to you like this. We're saying to your next level mind that is outside of that vehicle, you've got to push harder into that vehicle. And we're saying to the degree of consciousness that is already in that vehicle, you've got to pull harder so that you can move on to, you see what we're saying? So we're saying to the mind that is not in, to push in. We're saying to the mind that is in, to pull in, so that you will be prepared for new steps and improved ways and thinking and conduct and so forth.
Almost like a child being born.
Yes, T keeps using that coming out of the chrysalis thing, because that's talking about the next level mind consciousness that's on this side, that is in the vehicle, that we're trying to get enough in that we feel like the next level we'll see as satisfactory for the task. Now, we like all of your next level minds like next level tasks. But no one in the next level would be so foolish as to like this kind of task. You like the task, you're honored that you were given it, but you also would like to have it completed at the earliest time that they would find satisfactory. And that's the reason that you have to strain all the time to push from the outside and pull from the inside to cinch yourself up so that you're ready for what's next.
Actually, I think the vehicle is the one that gives the mind the most trouble
Sure.
about disliking the task, because the next level mind it knows it's a difficult task, just like Joe said, but it also is encouraged to make progress. And what's so good about the next level mind, it knows that you're making progress, but your vehicle can block you from seeing it or realizing it, and your vehicle can come down with a disease of despair. And you will feel like it's you. But your next level mind knows it isn't. Now, whether or not you allow that despair to really become a strong vibration, and if that's the case, then the mind will back off a little bit, because it cannot stand those vibrations. And so therefore, it's always best to stop those vibrations as soon as they begin to occur, so your mind won't back off. Because it's like, remember how, and I hate to use this because I don't want you to think I think of it as bad, but it was just when we first got into campgrounds, Lynx had to keep their camp away from the group. Remember that? And it wasn't that we didn't like you. It was because of the vibration that was still going on in your vehicle compared to what was in our vehicle. They didn't mix. And therefore, we had to kind of keep our distance from you until you begin to shed some of the human characteristics and get more of the vehicles under control. If you remember reading in the Old Testament, back when the Lord, who was with Moses and the children of Israel, he gave all these things. When you have sex, you're unclean. He said, right? And you were supposed to leave the grounds and stay gone for so many days.
Go out to the campground for 3 days.
And now, he didn't do that because he disliked sex. It was because of the vibration. And he wanted to, he couldn't get close to it. And all of the things that the class was vibrating at that time, and you all know what they were, prevented us from being close to you. And this is, in a sense, what you have shed has been, goodness, so much so that what you really have to deal with now are the minor things. Like getting upset if somebody says just the wrong thing to you, you know, which, if you think about it, it sounds kind of silly, doesn't it? Or if somebody leaves the ironing board up, or the fruit box lid's off, you know. Doesn't that sound kind of silly when you think about it, compared to what you all have dealt with from the very beginning? We don't want you to check back, reflect on it, but you know what we're talking about, because all of you went through it. And but what you still have got to realize is that when your vehicle, I know we've said it a million times, but when your vehicle is vibrating a negative vibration, your mind will not stay close to the surface. It will back off, just like we backed off when vibrations were too bad in the camp. And so therefore what you want to do is keep your vehicles under control as much as you can, and keep those minds in the surface, close to the surface. Now, when that happens, when you do that consistently, where where the vehicle has no bad vibrations, the mind is on the surface all the time, then you begin to get the feeling, and it gets closer and closer and closer, and you get to where one day you will look around and say, "This seems so strange here, and I want to go home." Feeling will come in, and when that happens, that's good, even though it's bad because you can't. But it's still good because then you can see the progress.
Well, maybe when they really feel that, maybe that'll be the time to do it. You know, when T was saying that when your vehicle is acting up to a certain degree, your next level mind will recede. You've got to. I know that still confuses you at times, because you think, well, then why doesn't my next level mind come on in and take over? The vehicle and the living mind of the vehicle, you've got to realize, is like a child. And you have to be the master psychologist, child psychologist. You have to, anytime the vehicle wants to have a poor response or act in negative ways, let's be the master child psychologist. The master child psychologist says to himself when they see a child acting up, they say, "Oh, this tactic isn't working, so I've got to use this tactic." Oh, and maybe if I make the child think that it's the child's idea that we do this, or in other words, they try every scheme that they can to get the best performance out of the child. Now, that's exactly what the next level vehicle does. Now, what the next level mind does. Now, when the vehicle acts up, the next level mind backs off. Your task is how fast can you get your cunning ideas in effect? How fast can you be the psychiatric help with that child, with that vehicle, and get in there? Now, sometimes you can slip in like that, even at the moment when your vehicle is absolutely convinced it cannot get out of the negative frame of mind it's in. But sometimes you can catch it off guard and absolutely force the vehicle to totally drop all that negativity as if it was a bunch of foolish garbage. And you can suddenly, and your countenance will change, and you have forgotten everything that the vehicle was trying to put you through. And any moment that you do that, you were being a good child psychologist. You see what we're saying? Other times, if the vehicle is getting away with it, and it's hanging on for that period, your next level mind, is being a lousy child psychologist. You're not pulling out the stops. You're not doing the things that you know how to do and that we have taught you how to do to intercept that response and that negativity or that countenance or whatever it is and turn it around. And we've always said if it doesn't work one way, try another. But do what it takes to not let it linger, because the more it lingers, the more your mind separates. It's just like the child psychologist who finally says, I've tried everything in the book and I can't get through. I can't get through. And so they go away and wait until it's in a better frame of mind. And then come back and one of the lessons works. Do you see what we're saying? And sometimes that's what you do. You just back off and wait until the vehicle is more cooperative. But we're saying you should be sharper than that. You shouldn't have to back off and just wait until the vehicle cycle has passed, or it's satisfied that it's been ugly long enough to get the point across, and then is willing to be nice again so that you will stop fighting with it. You see what we're saying? Because this is exactly what you go through. We know we have vehicles to work with. It's a little different, but the vehicles act according to the genetic structure that is there, and we have that to deal with to the degree of knowing what you have to deal with the mind of your vehicle. And we were put through those paces for that purpose.
Well, I'll tell you something, and I hope this will encourage you, because that's what I'm really complimenting you. But the last meeting we had, it was very difficult for the frequency to be given to you. But this time, I feel the frequency being accepted more.
It's like you're more receptive.
In other words, it's like you've used up the other frequency, and now you're ready for some more. So, take it.
That's good, because nobody's as good a judge of that as T is.
Just wanted to check a technique of getting the mind into the vehicle, because like Sunday night after we had the meeting, the humanness that could go along with the singing task. And that night I went through my day and I could see many different ways that the vehicle acted in a human way in relationship to that task. And as I went through each one of them, the vehicle didn't want to listen to it. It was like squirming and trying to block it out. And finally, I tried to, it was like I was getting a syringe and forcing it in how it should have acted, and finally I came to a feeling of it was like my mind found a place in the vehicle where it wasn't before, and I don't know if that's and then.
Well, you had ownership of a little bit more territory than you had before, because this was territory that had never been touched before. This is actually a little area of the brain and territory that your next level mind has never invaded before. This particular task was finding a little clump of ground that next level mind hadn't trod on. And the vehicle then had to express itself. Now, it liked the ground for the most part. Most of the vehicle liked this new ground. And it even felt like it was at home with it, and it was going to have fun with it, and it was going to just be like an angel in doing it, and it was going to do it in just the next level way. But it was a lie, because the vehicle doesn't know how to do anything in the next level. And the next level mind had not trod on this turf in the brain before either. So you had to go through the experience of sorting out what responses and feelings and thoughts and so forth that the task had surfaced were human, so that then were vehicular, so that then the next level mind could say, now wait a minute, I'm in control here. And it's okay that you might like this task and so forth, but we're going to do it my way. And I'm going to be keener to the little hidden ways that you're trying to slide into this task and kind of ask me to loosen my reins. You see, because the vehicle was liked the kind of task for the most part, and the next level mind kind of liked the fact that the vehicle liked it, and so the next level mind was kind of tempted to loosen the reins a little bit. You see what we're saying? And then you all had to learn the fact that you had loosened the reins, and what were the areas that constituted loosening the reins. And then you had to tighten up the reins. And you had to say, well, I'm sorry, the kind of pleasure and fun we're going to have out of this is not the kind you were. It's a much higher vibration than that. Because it's going to be done the same as we do in the other task for the next level. And it's going to be only on that level, or we're not going to do it at all. And you had to come to terms with your vehicles. If you haven't, you're still going to have to come to terms with your vehicles on that task.
You've mentioned in recent meetings about how the next level takes the mind that's with the vehicle and almost immediately puts it into another vehicle after it uses the vehicle that's in. But in certain unusual situations, say like a wartime where so many minds are vacating vehicles so quickly, they have a way they can put all these on hold, I guess, until the vehicles come along that they can put the minds back into.
Well, we said we don't know, but we said it's like there is a reservoir of hold, or like putting them in a bank, if needed. But we don't know that they haven't already, that this hasn't all been worked out in a network system that takes care of them even on the spot. You would have to have before you on your computer a record of global every family unit and every illegitimate child. You would have to know exactly what's happening in every death and birth on the globe to know whether or not those that were lost in great numbers were immediately taken care of then, or if they were put in some sort of time reservoir, or if they had reached a grade in school or a grade and they were chapped to that grade and had not earned the going on procedure. See, you can't judge those things, nor is it our task to judge any of those things.
Well, I saw something on the news recently that I was trying to coordinate this with, and you notice that during a wartime when a lot of men are killed, there's also like a baby explosion. There's an awful lot of babies born. And I thought, that sure is a quick way to get all those minds possibly that have been killed right back into vehicles.
Right. We've thought about that. And those babies, those pregnancies are occurring even before the deaths are occurring. If you've noticed, it's while the servicemen are out in all the camps and out in all over the boondocks that all these little gals are pregnant. You know what we're saying? And then the guy goes off and gets killed, and then we have these war babies all over the place. So you know that it has to...
They're preparing the place.
Even though
you're not preparing the place for themselves.
Even though you said you think that the vehicles get put in experiential networks rather than family strain networks.
Well, no, it said that they go experiential networks, which may at times also be...
I wondered if the husband went away and maybe had a baby by someone he met, say, in Vietnam, and that mind that was in his vehicle, say, got put into that child's vehicle because of what happened. What's happening on the news is many children that were left when the Americans departed Vietnam, there's 10 to 15,000 children there who are outcasts who are being treated really poorly. And they show you pictures, and the children look bright and clean and alert. And I was trying to think about what is there in the minds that have gone into those new young vehicles that are of a mixed race that's causing, is it that they're a little more advanced because half of it was from a vehicle from, say, this part of the world where maybe the mind was more advanced? Why are they being so persecuted? Why do the people make it so awful for those children that the Americans are now feeling guilty that they want to bring those that are their own, so to speak, over here rather than leave them there to just language? And I thought, well, maybe the next level intended some way of upgrading or putting more energy or something new into that area by leaving those minds there.
So you're talking about vehicles, and the minds that are in those vehicles over there could be Vietnamese. You know, they're being killed over there also.
So it could have been from...
And naturally the mind, when the American, let's say American impregnates a Vietnamese girl and the vehicle is born, it is going to be a stronger vehicle in a sense. Of course, that depends on